Welcome to IMS. I'm Pat Hindle, and I'm here with Gary LaRude. Today we are talking with the 3-Minute Thesis team, Aaron Kiley, Aline Eid, Daniel Tachek, and John Bandler. Welcome, everybody.
Hi. Hi, Pat.
Hello.
So the 3-Minute Thesis is in its 5th year at IMS. Can you tell us about the event and how it got started?
Well, I was giving a workshop on presentation skills in San Francisco in 2016, the year I bumped into Aaron Kiley, who was interested, like me, in science communication to the public. And we decided to propose a 3-minute thesis competition to Wayne Shiroma, and he accepted, and here we are. I had already been working on 3-minute thesis competitions earlier at McMaster University.
So what are the goals of the 3-Minute Thesis event?
So Aaron, you want to tell them?
Yeah, so I hadn't been involved with 3MT before I met you in 2016 in San Francisco, and John told me all about 3-Minute Thesis. It's an international competition. The University of Queensland in Australia sets up the academic rounds of competition, but the goals were really we were easily able to translate them to an IMS format, even though they're intended for universities, because the goals are pretty simple, right? You've got 3 minutes, you've got one slide, you've got to describe your technical research to non-technical people, which kind of was exactly what our society needed, a bunch of passionate, articulate, young ambassadors to pitch microwave research to a public that maybe isn't as receptive of the awesome power of microwaves as it should be. So our goal is kind of huge, to transform the public image of microwaves and the MTT Society via these wonderful ambassadors, of which we've had more than 100 students come through our program so far. So this was the big goal.
Yeah. And so typically we have about 24 or so a year, roughly.
So how is Microwave Week 2021 3MT being adapted for the virtual format?
Well, like last year, we had to scramble to go from an in-person to a virtual environment. And, we just improvised and gradually adapted it. And what the bottom line is that we give intensive coaching sessions over Zoom, just like this, to the finalists that have been selected. And after a significant number of these coaching events, we allocate 15 minutes time slots to each one, and they're allowed 2 tries, 2 goes at it. And then we select the best of the 2. The idea is to try to keep it fresh. We don't want this to be a video contest. We don't want this to be something that's edited, chopped up, hashed, read. It has to be memorized. It has to be presented, into the camera rather than at the screen. And so we create, in effect, YouTube-ready videos that are then rolled out on the day of the competition, which this year is on the 20th of June at noon, Eastern Daylight Time. And so this playlist is rolled out to the judges, to the audience, all at the same time, and the judges make their decision as to the winners. So that's the essential idea. And the idea is, again, not to have a video contest, because that would be a completely different idea, but to try to keep it so that it's as spontaneous and as in-person as we could make it over the internet, if that makes any sense.
So we have some participants. How would you say the event has benefited you?
I'll go ahead and start. So to just start describing what 3MT is for me. So 3MT is really hard from the beginning, from thinking about the idea, the script, the slide, and then to the last moment where you have to basically memorize your talk and say it without mistakes, hopefully. It was a really hard experience. For me in 2019, I was participating in that and in student design and student paper competition. And I can say that 3MT was the hardest, and it was really hard, and I never regret it. And the reason for that is I think a student can have a oral presentation once, twice, 3 times a year. But you would face the idea that you have to explain your research to people in a minute or 2 or 3 minutes every day. You could be in the elevator with another person and you need to pitch your idea. This could be your next investor. And then they ask you the question, what are you going to say? So I would say that from now on, when people tell me, be careful, you need to explain it to someone outside your field. And I'm like, don't worry, I've done 3MT before. And I'm still using it until now. Every time I have an oral presentation, a poster. I remember I went last year to a conference and I said to myself, I know I'm going to win this because I know how to make a poster. And the only reason I knew how to make a poster was because of the 3MT. So it shaped, like, everything after that was based on what I learned there. I think it's very important. Every student needs to consider this when they're doing the research. And that's the perspective of a student. I'm not talking as a committee member here. So I learned a lot for sure.
Yeah, just to clarify, Aline and Daniel are committee members with us, as well as having been former participants.
I can chime in too there briefly, just to follow up. I mean, I completely agree with Aline. I had the same experience. I think oftentimes with conference presentations, people hide a lot behind the sort of technical aspects of their research, and getting to understand people who should be in your field, getting to understand what work they're doing can be extremely difficult because we all end up in such narrow areas, right? So just training this aspect, trying to improve my ability to explain what I do to any audience, whether they're technical or non-technical, was really important for me. And I still feel the effects of competing. I was in the 2017, the first competition, and I can still see the effects of that competition in everything I do, all the presentations I give up to this point now.
And Daniel, by the way, was the audience choice winner as well as first place. And so was Aline at that particular time.
So as past winners, Aline and Dan, can you tell us a little bit about what people need to do to stand out and what you really learned from this in your presentations?
I think winning is a combination of, it cannot be one thing, cannot be just a slide or just a script. I think for me, it's a package. I think making it personal, for me, that's what touches me the most. When you make a story personal and people can relate to it. I think also, I don't know, being presentable, your tone when you're speaking, it could be an amazing story, but you can be very monotone and people you just lose the audience. So for me, your tone, your story, having someone special like my Lucy the tarantula in my story, I think these are very important things. I'm assuming, Dan, you have a lot to add.
I mean, I agree with you again. You have really good points here, Aline. There's so many factors that go into creating a really excellent presentation. And I think mastering all of these little components of it is really what makes a great presentation. It can come down to, locking eyes with the judges as you're saying a critical point of your presentation. Minor things like that play a big role, on top of, creating and crafting a script that really eloquently describes your work while at the same time is concise and can be executed in 3 minutes. If you can do that and you can make people walk away saying, wow, that guy's research is really interesting, you've done a great job.
Yeah, all that is correct, and as Aline said, it's the package that counts. And I've worked with hundreds of students, not beyond IMS, and I work with them from the script formation, the script editing, the slide editing, rehearsals, and then having done the rehearsals, go back to the script to see does the script need adjustment based on the rehearsals. And it's really a package. And the idea is, in effect, what I'm doing is teaching the candidates to be theatrical, but not theatrical as somebody else, but to be themselves. So what is their own voice? How do they want to present it? What is it they want to say? And to help them say that particular thing. And if I can add something to Aline and Dan, in Aline's case, her sort of focus was a tarantula. In Daniel's case, it was a blueberry, believe it or not. However, I know the secret of reverse engineering Daniel's secret over the years, and Daniel knows that very well. If you look very carefully, the blueberry in his slide, literally a blueberry with a bunch of waveguides, has the same color as his tie. His tie is the same color, and it's the same color as the IEEE logo, on the banner behind him. So this color coordination, and I'm aware of color coordination, if you can see this stuff behind me, that color coordination, and by the way he rolled up his sleeves, should they be to the wrist, or should they be up here? All these things played a role, I'm sure of it. So I won't comment on Aleen's costume. I'll just comment on Dan's costume.
Well, you're describing a great skill to have, and I can certainly relate to it from my own personal experience. Oftentimes in a career, you may bump into a vice president in the hallway who asks you, how's your project going? And being able to convey that in 30 seconds in a positive way is really important. So thank you, Aaron, Aline, and Daniel, and John for joining us to discuss the 3MT event, the history of it, and the benefits that you've received. It sounds like a great program, and we wish you many years continuing.
Thank you, Gary and Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we thank our viewers for joining us on this Eye on IMS. We hope to see you in Atlanta in just a few weeks. You still have time to register.